Hello everybody. The master game I'm going to show you today was played in 1925 between Bogoljubov and Tarrasch, with this game being rather a surprise result in this match. The game started with Bogoljubov playing as white, e4, and Tarrasch responding with the opening I like, knight f6, the Alekhine, e5, so main line Alekhine, knight d5, knight f3. So this move is not main line, usually d4 is played. So knight f3 gives black the option of playing c5, and then if white plays d4, black can take it, and it would go into a sort of unknown opening. It might look like a Sicilian. So knight f3 is a little bit out of book, but here it doesn't matter because Tarrasch played d6 and white then went back into the main line. And here a rather unusual move was played. I personally like to take the pawn on e5, but the old main line, and I think still most popular, is bishop g4, pinning the knight. But black chose bishop f5. Not a losing move or a terrible move, but it does give white more initiative with bishop d3. And rather unfortunately for Tarrasch, I think he made a losing blunder here. So the line I would play as black would be to exchange bishops, because black is slightly behind in terms of space. Black is more cramped, therefore you want to swap off pieces so that your pieces aren't all badly coordinated and tripping up over each other. The more exchanges happen, the more it favours the side who is both on the defensive and is behind in terms of how much space they control. So after queen takes, I think knight c6 is playable. c4, knight b6, and here white can play fairly normal moves. Black can then free up a little bit of space for the bishop. White could then take. Black could recapture, and okay, white is doing quite well here, but maybe black has a chance in this line, although I would definitely give an advantage to white. Here perhaps e5 might be the strongest move. The computer gave queen c8, and then white had a good advantage. Perhaps e5 is the best move in this position. And then playing knight a6 to c5. So, yeah, this is better than the game continuation. If we go back to the game, there are other options after queen takes d3. e6 is possible as well, which would give up a pawn due to queen b5. So I think maybe the best move is c6, and then playing knight to d7, g6, bishop g7, that sort of thing. But it is tricky for black, I have to admit. Black has gone a bit wrong already by playing bishop f5. But again, it might have been the best of a bad bunch of options. Instead, Tarrasch retreated, and now white was able to attack the knight first, make it move back, and then white traded bishops. So if you take with the f-pawn, white has the move e6, which will completely paralyze the black pieces. So he took with the h-pawn, and now we have a pawn sacrifice, which is the opposite, really, of a clearance sack. So with a clearance sacrifice, what you're doing is you're pushing your pawn, and the square that your pawn was previously on might be able to be used by a piece to gain more space. And it could also break up black's structure. But here we're doing the opposite of that to black. We're preventing black from moving one of his pieces. Here, e6 was played. So what it's doing is it's preventing the black bishop from moving for a very, very long time. If black does nothing about this pawn, white could just leave it there for a while, or take on f7, leaving black's king dangerously exposed. So there are two options. There's f takes, e6, queen d3, knight c6. Perhaps white could castle first. And king d7 might be the best move to allow queen to e8, knight g5, queen e8, knight c3. As you can see, this position is becoming slowly worse and worse for black. So perhaps black could survive until the late middle game or early end game, depending on when you feel the end game begins. But here I would give a massive advantage to white. The knight on e6 is just going to stay there and prevent black from getting any of the pieces active or connected, coordinated. White has a very strong pawn chain and a big space advantage, so I would give this as about +3 for white. So that was not played in the game. F takes e6, it just is too weakening. Instead, Tarrasch tried playing f6, so he's not doubling his pawns on the e-file, and is not creating doubled isolated pawns on the g-file. However, white's pawn is still a very big presence there, so queen d3, rather, as one of my friends would call it, a caveman threat of queen takes g6 checkmate. Queen c8 was played, trying to round up the pawn, but queen takes g6 check, king d8, and now white can use the e6 pawn to still paralyze black and infiltrate. So look at black's pieces. All bar one of them is on the back rank, and the rooks can't really move, the queen can't move, the king can't move, the bishop can't move. Only black's knights are able to safely move anywhere, and a couple of pawns. So black took, and now white decided that if he could simply trade off black's knight, black would have all his useful pieces would have been taken away, and white could then simply build up the position. So knight bd2, knight takes, bishop takes. So here, the usual rule about pieces being cramped still applies. Black might be a tiny bit better off now the knights have been exchanged. But on the other hand, black now has absolutely no threats, no control over the centre, which the knight was able to influence, and white now has nothing stopping him from just building up and strengthening his position, improving his pieces. So g5 was played, trying to gain space, and maybe bishop h6 is possible. d5, so now that e6 pawn is just there. And then here, I don't know why Tarrasch played this move. Perhaps he'd given the game up as being lost. The only thing I could think of, if I was playing, would be to fight for the centre. So what I would try and do is undermine white's pawn chain by attacking the d5 pawn. So c6 is the most logical move. But Tarrasch played c5, gaining space. So now white's pawns are there in the centre forever. Bishop c3, aiming at the black rook. potentially threatening bishop takes f6, and Tarrasch decided that he was going to attack white's knight. Then Bogoljubov decided that he wasn't too afraid of losing his knight and played knight h4. So here, what white is doing, which is very instructive, is when white is ahead, he's got better piece coordination, a better pawn structure by a mile, just better all over the board. What you don't want to do is you don't want to just hold off. You don't want to play passively and sort of very timidly. You want to keep on attacking because black's position is very, very stretched, and with just a small amount of pressure, I think black's position will disintegrate. So here, the threat is knight g6, which will fork the rook and bishop, and I think black would then lose lots of material. So here, Tarrasch went for perhaps the best chance, with rook takes knight. And again, what did I just say about pressure? Small application of pressure will disintegrate black's position. So queen takes, bishop check, king c7. And here, even though white has a very good position, white does not want to swap off queens here. The queen is the main attacking piece. And if the queens were swapped off, perhaps black could fight back. So queen takes e7, winning a pawn. And the computer actually gives, as the best move, knight d7, showing just how bad black's situation has become. Bishop takes f6, rook h5, castle queenside to defend the d5 pawn and get the king safe. And black's best option is just to trade queens, so okay, fine. And here I would give white as being completely winning. As long as he doesn't do anything too risky or just careless, white should be able to win with the extra piece. And he's not even down on pawns, so black could just resign here. But if we go back to the game, instead Tarrasch decided to take his king for a walk with king b6. Now queen takes b6, d6, check. And again the computer gives knight c6 as being the best move, just giving up the minor piece. And white again doesn't need to take the knight immediately, he can just strengthen the position, because what can black do? Queen d8. Okay, now we can take the knight. Queen trade, and then again white's a simple piece up, and here it's even worse for black because the e-pawn is a passer. So white could play pawn to e7, then rook to d8, and will promote next move. So it's still completely lost, but it just loses more slowly and painfully. Instead, queen c6 is actually the next best move, because there is a forced mate after king b5. And as a hint, every move from now on is a check. So what do you think the first move is going to be? Okay, well the only move that is check that is not losing your queen is a4 check. Okay, then king c4. So what's the next move? Queen f4. Again, the only safe check. And here there's a couple of options. There's a very, very nice checkmate here. If king d3, can you find the only move that's checkmate? Well, you need to put the king in check while also making sure the king can't move to c2. So the move is castles queenside, checkmate. Rook d1 would allow king c2, and if the white queen moved, it would then allow the black king to move to a square previously guarded by the white queen. So that's one option. And there's also, I think if king b3, I think rook a3 checkmates very, very quickly. And the move in the game was king takes d5. So king b3, just to briefly show, there might be a faster mate, but I think the quickest one is rook to a3 check, king c2, then queen d2 or queen e4, king b1, and then queen... Actually, no, not queen d1. I like mating by castling, so castles kingside, checkmate. Again, it's possible there's a faster checkmate, but I like that one, so I'm going to go with that one. And finally, the move played in the game was king takes d5. So white now castled with check. It's always quite nice to do, castle with check. And here, king c6, and the final move of the game was queen d6 mate. If king takes e6, then the checkmate is also another queen move with queen takes f6 mate. So this game I thought was a bit short, but it does show how important infiltration, pawn structure, and preventing black's ideas are in chess games. So a lot of players, what they do is they only think of what they want to do, and they don't pay that much attention to their opponent. So what white did was, after bishop f5, thought, okay, how can I improve and prevent black from doing what they want? Bishop d3 is a good example of this. So normally black wants to just finish developing the pieces by moving the e or g pawn, moving their bishop, and then putting their other knight onto usually c6. So black has to take time out to deal with bishop takes f5, and should take it, but queen takes d3, not pawn takes, would also prevent a lot of black's usual plans, because queen b5 check is a threat, going after the b7 pawn and d5 knight. So it's possible that knight b6 is also a move. Knight c6 might be the best move, but it does run into complications. Or black could sacrifice the pawn by playing a move like e6 and just thinking, okay, I will give up the pawn and try and salvage something. So black's reaction was even worse than this, bishop g6. So black's already not exactly gone right, because he didn't play one of the two mainline moves. c4 was a good move before taking the bishop, which would clarify things. So here, perhaps bishop takes bishop is okay for black, but it still is flirting with danger after perhaps queen takes bishop, and then black is still not in a very good situation. So knight b6, and now after this is horrible, because after black has to take with the h-pawn, white is again not just thinking, what do I want to do? You know, do I develop my knight to c3, put my bishop on f4, castle kingside? They're thinking, what does black want to do? Well, black wants to play the move e6 and then bishop e7, and maybe castles, or even just move the king to f8 and g8 and leave the rook on the h file, which is semi-open. So white thinks, okay, how do I prevent black playing e6? I play e6. Then after f6 thinks, okay, what's the weakness of black's last move? Okay, black's pawn was on f7 guarding g6, now it's not, so g6 is undefended, and look at the black king, it can't move. Okay, I'll create a checkmate threat, and black has to think of ways of dealing with it. So the move f5 looks absolutely terrible. I feel that knight g5, among other things, could very easily win in the next few moves. g4 is an idea, going after black's pawns. So queen c8, and then, okay, let's take a pawn. Then I need to defend e6, so I'll do that while infiltrating with the queen, tying black's pieces down. And now, okay, I've lost the c4 pawn, not a big deal. What do I need to do next? Alright, okay, black can't actually move anything on the king side, so let's get rid of this annoying c4 knight. Okay, now let's solidify the pawn and prevent black from breaking out. Let's tie everything down. If black played c6, I think rook c1 would probably have been played to avoid c takes d5 and have a pin. So after c5, okay, let's improve my pieces and threaten things. Again, don't play passively. So also don't exchange on c6, because black would want that and then would be able to develop the knight to c6. So again, the d5 pawn is preventing black's knight moving to c6. So the bishop on d2 isn't doing much. Let's put it on the long diagonal, where it has a threat of both knight takes g5 and bishop takes f6, leading to winning material. Okay, and now after g4, instead of retreating the knight, let's focus on black's king side. We've already put the bishop on the long diagonal, the queen is infiltrated on the king side, the e6 pawn is tying down everything, so how do we keep on attacking black's pieces? Okay, let's not retreat the knight, let's advance it with knight h4, threatening knight g6. And after black has to swap off pieces, we now win the pawn on e7, so we now have a passed e-pawn, and the king is in horrible danger. So take the pawn again with check, keep attacking, don't consolidate yet, just make sure you've got everything out of the position that you can. And then the king is so badly positioned, okay, all black's pieces are out of the game, they're not defending the king, so there must be a mate here. That's what my intuition would say to me, and if I can't find a checkmate, I guess I would just keep checking. So I may have stumbled upon this checkmate, even if I hadn't seen it here. And at this point, castle with check is always pretty, so I'd probably do that. And then it's the end of the game. So I hope you enjoyed this video, got something out of it. Comment, like, subscribe, and see you in the next video. Bye.